Resumes are key to landing the job of your dreams. Let's review the key steps to building a solid resume.
How to build a solid resume. A resume should be roughly one page, no more than two, using a 10 to 12 font size. Make sure margins are approximately a half an inch and consistent when using first and past tense pronouns. Example, use first person pronouns when describing present positions and past tense when describing past positions. Also, try not to use I, me, my, or mine or other first person pronouns to keep it professional. Choose your paper color. The color of paper can be white, but every applicant's choice is typically white. So try off-white or just a paper with a slightly different tint. Stay away from bright colors, primary colors, and pastels. Avoid scented paper as well. You don't want to remind the interviewer about anyone undesirable from their past. This is not a love letter. Are there free templates for headers and/or resumes? Yes. Make sure you research the website carefully before clicking links, especially if you pay using your card information. There are also free services and paid services that can help with resume review and development. Before getting started on the resume itself, you need to gather vital information. Dig into your past and collect all your job history information. Make sure you have educational certifications, licenses, letters of recommendations, recognitions, etc., diplomas, driver's license, or other form of identification, sometimes credit card info, birth certification, and even outstanding exam and test scores. Depending on the job you're seeking, they may do a background check followed up by a drug test. If you haven't started a career or job portfolio or file, now is the time. Many job applications are done exclusively online and will time you out. Number 1. The best way to start a resume is by creating a header. Starting with your name, then job position, title, phone number, email address, then possibly a LinkedIn URL. The goal is to make the header stand out and hold attention because it's the first thing that will be read. Your name. It is usually positioned top left. People tend to read from left to right. Your name can be centered in middle top. Try a different font. Try scaling it. Try bolding it. Try a different hue. Try italicizing, underlining, and even capitalizing letters to make it and the rest of the header stand out. Font should be professional and slightly bigger than the rest of the lettering. You want to stand out, but not in an unprofessional way. Therefore, don't choose anything too outlandish or bold. The header can be scaled using a slightly bigger font size as you start with your name, and then proceed down using a slightly smaller font, followed by the job position, then phone number, email address, then possibly a LinkedIn URL. Example, Calibri is the typical default font, but everyone could be using it, so try Constantius or Lucida Bright. Stay away from fonts like Chiller, Bradley, Hand, and Inkfree unless your audience is not as professional or formal. Color. Black is the usual default font and can work, but try italics or bolding it so it can stand out. You can also use a dark blue font color. Just remember it should not be anything too bold like hot pink or royal blue. The hue you choose should be close to a black font. Second page header. Do you put a header on a second or preceding pages? Yes. Just in case the resume detaches from the cover letter or from the previous pages, it will serve as a safeguard from being overlooked for the position. It also doesn't hurt to use the repetition of a repeated name to help it stick in the mind of the hires. Job position or title. This gives emphasis to the resume applicant. State your credentials so the stated name on the header of the application will be recognized by the individual or hiring body, drawing attention to the fact that the applicant is well informed and qualified. Use subtitles. Use subtitles such as doctor, registered, and certified, followed by your name if possible. If you don't have a subtitle following the name of the applicant, he or she can make up for it in other ways. Throughout the body of the application, such as job experience. Include your expertise in the field of application, years of experience, licenses, certifications earned, awards, special recognition, and/or any promotions. Make it catchy but not cliche. Typically, the title is to catch the attention of the employer, but it should be only a simple phrase not exceeding more than 10 to 12 words. Lengthy subtitles could do the opposite and turn away possible employment opportunities. Phone number. 1. Keep your phone number current and up to date. Your answering service and message should be professional and non-generic. 2. Simply state your name and title and/or job description. 3. Leave a simple explanation explaining how sorry you were not able to answer the phone and how you will return the call as soon as possible. 4. Leave a callback number. Don't just assume time will be taken to look it up, or the person doing the hiring will be equipped with modern technology. Humor. Try to leave out humor and don't just let calls fall idle due to your phone's default answering device. The individual doing the hiring needs to know he or she reached the right number, and hopefully your brief message will enlighten them enough to wait for your call back or possibly will be eager to give you a call back. Email address. Including an email address in the resume heading is a good way to allow feedback from hiring professionals. Most companies and hiring agencies use email correspondence as a way of not only communicating, but also a way to download your resume itself. Use a professional email address. To do this, an individual may need to consider possibly creating a separate work address. Language. Avoid using words that are playful or gravitate to personal type of audiences. For example, words like sassy or cowabunga may be okay for everyday personal life, but not if you're trying to land a job at a local firm. Maybe try using part of your name with or followed by your job title. Links. A proper address should give insight to your educational and professional achievements, and it should heighten the professional abilities you can provide a company. Possibly allow for links to your resume or other professional accounts and entities. This will allow onlookers to see how you shine. LinkedIn and social media. Include a LinkedIn URL or another professional link. A LinkedIn URL included as a hyperlink of the header of your resume can give an overview of your professional profile to highlight your application and give reasons and rise to why you are the appropriate candidate for the job. Social media. Are social media accounts safe from hiring personnel? No. Even if accounts are made private, it can still lead to scrutiny and be grounds for judgment. Clean up all accounts, both personal and professional. Social networking can either make or break you. For example, maybe you are not friends with the person doing the initial interview, but maybe he or she knows someone who befriended you on Facebook, and you would be surprised what can surface with a simple engine check. Summary. A successful resume includes a good summary. The next step to a successful resume is the summary. An effective summary should simply and briefly state your accomplishments. A summary is a short 1 to 2 sentence paragraph, not longer than 3 sentences, found at the beginning of a resume and just following the header to support and capitalize an applicant's skills and expertise. Scholar and accomplishments. Consider including the years working in a specific job or trade, education, awards, certifications, scholarships, licenses, academic advancements, job promotions, projects, or leadership achievements. Mention your skills. Mention your skills that you have to offer the company that may set you apart from other applicants. Describe what makes you a great leader and candidate. Emphasize the good work ethics, talents, and skills. What is it that you accomplished and achieved exactly? How did you contribute to the company, project, or team hired under? This is your chance to shine and look polished. Keep it short, simple, to the point, but in a way that simply and briefly states specific accomplishments. Advancement. Don't forget to include interest in advancing a certain field or career he or she needs to know you will continue to expand, contribute, and advance once hired. Make sure the desire to advance pertains to the field or job you're applying for. It's okay to state you'd like to be a registered nurse someday if you're going for a certified nursing assistant job, but maybe leave out that your goal is to be a musician if you're applying for a job as a hygienist. Abbreviations. Is it okay to use abbreviations when filling out an application to keep the resume to 1 or 2 pages? No. Typically, I wouldn't recommend it. Sometimes a word bank is used when selecting candidates for a job. Abbreviations might be filtered through and not be counted. Therefore, no matter how experienced someone is or how well constructed an application might be, make sure to spell out important keywords and include important terminology. Be to the point and concise and make that resume count. Work history. Make an intricate summary of all the jobs held in the past, including a brief synopsis of prior work experience. When including work history, remember to start with the most current job and ending with the last job that was held. Typically, you wouldn't want to include jobs 10 years from now, but approximately 5 years. Example, if I worked at one job for the past 7 years, not including the job currently employed at using, first include the job I'm currently employed in and then the prior job. When is it okay to use jobs past the 10-year mark? When job experience can get you a higher salary, but put a cap on it. Don't mention your dog sitting job you had in high school when you're trying to land a job in a corporate office. If an individual was terminated from a job or maybe left a job for some reason, leave that job out if possible. Maybe there were classes or other educational endeavors that can later explain the gap in work history. Work history continued. Be careful when considering listing a job that was held for less than a year. When is it okay to list a job worked for less than 1 year? If there was some sort of promotion within the company or there was educational advancements. Make sure this is capitalized on and emphasized. For example, if you worked at a job for 6 months and then a year later worked for the same company again for 6 months, is it okay to list that job, but make sure you're prepared to explain why? Be honest, but not too personal. They do not need to know your whole life story. Know your audience and tailor information appropriately, avoiding unnecessary details. You need to make sure you leave room for questions. If the leave of absence was for maternity reasons and a spouse was also in the service, maybe list the fact there was a deployment, but leave out the fact it was to rear kids in his or her stead. Elaborate on the fact the company was satisfied with your work ethic and contribution, that you were willing to rehire you back onto the workforce. Maybe explain the job is a long-term commitment and that another deployment is not in the plans. History 3. First, work with company name. Make sure spelling, grammar, and the company name is up to date and accurate. Second, include the title and position held, remembering not to use abbreviations when possible. Third, be sure to include the range of dates you worked. You want to make sure the dates are as accurate as possible. If you're not 100%, be sure to make your best estimated guess and be consistent. Keep record of the range of dates you submitted, just in case you need to apply for the same job in the future. Give a brief bullet-pointed summary of your accomplishments and achievements while you are or were hired on the job. Remember not to elaborate too much so the interviewee can ask questions and will be eager to know more. Past employers. When asked, is a past employer can be contacted to consider you for the position, is it okay to leave it blank or say no? Typically, no. You don't want to leave any blanks when completing a resume online application. A no response could be leaving them asking themselves why, and it looks tacky. Example, if you worked at a certain company and they changed their company name, use the current name and still give the prior manager's name. Spelling. Again, make sure all spelling is double checked. You don't want Michelle's name to look like Michael, or accidentally adding S on the end of husband when informing the interviewee the reason for the termination of a job was a deployment of a spouse. Don't just trust autocorrect. Use at least 2 to 3 qualified individuals to review your resume before it is submitted. For example, you can use your cousin, who's a teacher, a professor, or the tutoring center if available. It is always smarter to use a paid service than just wing it, or use your neighbor who failed to finish 2nd grade and maybe is not qualified. No experience? What do you do if you don't have the job experience? This is where you're to emphasize educational background and skills. Don't forget to include a cover letter and references before submitting your resume. You may need to submit a resume either in person or online. Hard copy. Should someone applying for a job print out their resume to have at hand? Yes, it is a good idea to store a copy in your career job portfolio. Hand the interviewers your printed out resume if the interview is done in person, and regardless if it was submitted online because computers crash. The technical difficulties, there can also be preferences to paper versus modern methods. The person or hiring committee may not take the time to print off your resume. By giving them your resume, everything they need to know is already at hand and within their fingertips. Cover letter. Before turning in a resume, make sure to include a cover letter. A cover letter accompanies a resume just in front of and in unison with the resume. It is the first thing someone will see. Therefore, the main goal of a cover letter is to amplify and appeal oneself to a hiring committee or person in hopes of landing the job and advancing a possible career or trade. A cover letter allows a possible hire to market his or her qualifications for a job by sparking interest and enticing a hiring person or committee to want to know more. Cover letter continued. Just like starting a resume with a header, you can take the header and include it on a single page, just before the resume. Start the cover letter by taking the header built when starting the resume and embellish it. The only differences between the header and the cover letter is adding a physical address and the date to the contact information, a self-introduction, and a summary of the experience and skills to offer a business or company. First, type your name, physical address, include the date, job position, phone number, email address, then possibly a LinkedIn URL. Self-introduction. Make a simple 1 or 2 phrase or sentence summary about yourself using your title and job description applying for. Keep it simple and to the point. Experience and skills. First off, the cover letter by stating your experience and listing your skills. This should not exceed a paragraph. Appeal to your audience. Make sure you're professional, precise, to the point, and entice the person people hiring so you can sell the idea that you are the candidate for the position job. Backup. Store and back up your resume on a removable drive as well as hand-printed version because removable drives can be accidentally laundered, misplaced, lost, or damaged. It's a good idea to store your resume and all important legal documents, certifications, and papers in a safe place, such as fire and waterproof safe.
Best wishes, and may the hiring force see your resume fit and help land you an interview and possibly a new job.